destined for greatness. My name is written in stars, and I will give everything, all that I have to the cause. Fight against evil, run through the pain, battle it all, this is more than a game. I am a lion and I can't be tamed, it's how it was made, this ice in my veins, run through it all. No matter the odds, I will answer the call. The enemy knocks on the door. Even the greatest among us will fall, but the greatest will get back up. So I won't back down, and I won't give up, and I will act now, and I will stand up. They know that I'm here for it all. Rise up, no matter what's in my way. Rise up, I will do what it takes. I will keep on fighting. I'll rise through it all. Rise up, no matter what's in my way. Rise up, I will do what it takes. I will keep on fighting. I'll rise through it all. Rise up.
No matter what it is you need, you'll find it at your local Par-Mar store. From gas to groceries, snacks, and everything else you always seem to run out of, Par-Mar Stores has it. Need more savings? Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. You won't only see our stores in your neighborhoods, you'll see us in your neighborhoods too. We are proud to be in your town and proud to be a part of the community. Come see us at Par-Mar Stores, and remember, if there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Wilson Martino Dental. Did you know that 95% of our dentists have graduated from WVU? And many former players and WVU coaches trust Wilson Martino Dental with their oral health. The Mountaineers and Wilson Martino Dental. Yeah, we do that.
And hello, and welcome to Mountaineer Hardcourt Legends Pregame. I'm the WolfMan Dale Wolfley, and I'm your host today, and I'm very excited about this. We got here some great legends with us today. Going to break it down. We're going to talk Mountaineer basketball just for you, Mountaineer Nation. And I really am thankful to have these guys. I love them very much. They're good buddies. See, football, basketball, and all athletes at WVU have all been interconnected and intertwined and have had great relationships through the years, and no difference with these gentlemen. They are looking fairly mature, as I am as well, but that's okay. We got Brent Solheim, and Brent, of course, is the new one for the show. This is being our third one of this season. But Brent, I want to welcome you first, being your first time. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Doing well. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And, with that, I don't know what you're doing with your camera, but, got that silhouette. Darryl D was saying that you kind of look like a Hollywood star out there. So anyways, it's kind of cool. It's focused. Don't touch anything because I think it makes you look good. Okay.
Well, thank you. I need all the help I can get.
I bet you do. And, of course, now we're going to move on here to Tim Kearney. Tim was 81 through 85, and I should go through that as Brett, you were 95 through 98, so those are your years here. And Tim, you were 81 through 85, drafted the third round by the Trailblazers. And how you doing today?
Doing all right for a Sunday.
For a Sunday?
I woke up this morning. By the way, I was 80 to 84.
What did I say?
81 to 85.
Yeah, that's close.
I'd like to be a year younger, but it doesn't work out that way.
I was close, and I'll get better here. We have Darryl Prue. Darryl's a Hall of Famer and coached at Georgetown for a number of years with the Hoyas. And you're 86 through 89. Did I get that right, D?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you am, or yes, you were. All right. Very good, man. Well, this is what I'm going to call today is the Bigs Day. That means all bigs, and not including myself even in that, even though I outweigh all of you pretty much. But listen, man, we have a great day today. Introduction is this: Bob Huggins Hall of Fame Day. What does that mean? You're the first one on the show here, man. I'm going to start out with you. Bob Huggins Hall of Fame Day. What do you think of the Big Bear?
I'm a big fan of Huggins. I always have been, going back quite a ways. I'm originally from Minnesota, and when Cincinnati played in the Final Four, my dad took us up to Minneapolis, my sister and I. We got the day off of school, and we watched all all 4 teams practice. Nick Van Exel was with Huggins at the time, and kind of followed him since. And I've always been a fan of his, especially since he came back to WVU, and he's been great for all of us former players, bringing us back for alumni games and everything else. I'm just a huge fan of not only the coach but the person.
Yeah, no doubt. And remember those alumni functions, that was me who organized those.
Yeah, I know. I recognize that, yeah.
When you had the food, you had the good spirits and stuff. Yeah, that was me giving it that. But, hey, Tim, about Huggins, man, what do you think? Obviously, he's 3rd all-time in wins. He's number 2 actively coaching, number 5 in all-time games as a Division I coach. Man, he's been through everything just about.
I have the utmost respect for Coach Huggins, and I've had numerous times where I've been out with him after these functions that you put together out there at Kegler's, and he's a true. I mean, he's got a very dry sense of humor, but he's very knowledgeable. He knows the game inside and out. He knows how to get these players to work as a group and as a family on the court, and it's just a real pleasure to watch him coach.
Yep, indeed. Now you've got a coach as well. You are a coach, and Hugs has been able to stay in the game for a long time. How's he doing it, and what's your take on him?
I think he stays consistent to what he is. He doesn't change his way. He try to get guys to do it his way. And that's why I think last year was a little bump in the road because the guys that want to do it his way. So now he has guys that's trying to do it his way, at least try to do it his way. There's a big difference. He's very consistent. He's a very consistent man. So I think, it shows. It's like you can't win all those games if you're not a consistent person.
Absolutely. And I'll just give my quick thought of Hugs. You're the Bear Man. We love you. Mountaineer Nation loves you. The country loves you. Probably the world because it's international basketball. Yeah, what's up, D?
Yeah, because he came to D.C. to recruit at a big event. We had a WC. It was DeMatha playing against Gonzaga. So you got a lot of high-level guys. And I'm sitting there talking to him. And people in D.C., you would think he was a movie star coming up asking for the autograph, taking pictures. I'm like, man, y'all in D.C., it's not West Virginia. Well, y'all don't know nothing about West Virginia before. But when he walks in there, everybody wants to be, they're taking their pictures with him. But he's revered in a lot of different places, like you said.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And his show with Jay Jacobs and TC there, Tony Caridi, always a sold-out show there. I believe it's Monday nights and then moves to Thursday nights if it hasn't already. So very good with that. And, one thing I want to talk about is something that came on Friday night, and that's a player on the team, Jose Perez. And he had a transfer waiver to play this season, and it was denied. And Tim, I want to just start out with you. In this world of transfers, all that is going on, the NCAA comes in, stops it. For whatever reason it was, the institution did not want that waiver to go through, and they're saying that he can't do it. Obviously, it's going to be appealed, but what's the deal, man? NCAA, get with it. You let everybody else do it, at least have the same standard.
Well, I think this transfer portal is kind of like the Wild West in so many words, but at the same time that, you've got a coach who gets fired, 2 weeks before the season starts. I don't know if there's any other underlying factors or what the deal is, but I don't think the NCAA should not, approve his transfer waiver. I don't get it. There's something that's missing. That's my gut feel.
What about you, D?
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's something that's not reading up. I mean, like everybody's moving all over the place, moving 2 or 3, 4 times. And I just don't think it's fair for this young man not to be able to play.
Yeah, Brent?
Yep, I understand the spirit of not wanting to grant someone eligibility of transferring in October. I get it. I think with the coach being fired right before the season starts, I think that's extraneous circumstances. So I think he should be eligible. He committed to the coach. The coach is no longer there. So I think it's unfair personally.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think Bob Huggins would be standing by him if he didn't believe in the cause. He's got too many years in, too many things to do to sit there and not stand by a player if he believes the player's in the right. So I'll go with him. There we go. 4 guys, let the guy play. There you go, NCAA. And moving along there with the NCAA, speaking of, I want you guys to tell me, D, I'm going to start out with you on this because this is the NET rankings, and the Mountaineers came out at number 11. And, you got the ESPN Power Index poll, you got the KenPom, all these statistical analytics. Do these matter? Are they the top 25 has been out. One thing I do appreciate is with the net rankings, they at least waited 10 games before they came out. Now, unlike in football, where I would say that they have them preseason, and then you got to go off it from there from the start. At least here, they kind of wait and see how the teams are.
Yeah, I'm not a big analytics guy. It's a lot of numbers. I think it's giving other people jobs, but I just don't think I trust my eyes. Sometimes you're playing against lower competition, higher competition, medium competition. That's a big difference too. There's some guys back in the days that could play against anybody. There's some that couldn't play against everybody or well against everybody. But it's always good to be number one in something. So we had to keep it up. It could be number one today, and next month it could be 101. So just got the consistency's got to be there. As players and believing in each other as a team.
Yeah,
I got a question. The NET ratings, does that have any impact on, the first 10 games of where these other teams are? You look at Purdue. They didn't have Purdue at number one, did they? And West Virginia played them closer than anybody else out there. So I don't know if that has an impact on it. But like Darryl said, there's so many different ratings out there. And you can't, if you get lost in them as a player or whatever, as a fan, you'll drive yourself crazy.
Math class always drove me crazy, Brent. And, I was pretty good at a few subjects, but math wasn't one of them. Analytics, what's your take, man?
So I'm an engineer, so I like numbers. I like playing with numbers. And, I think anytime you can break it down and not just into wins and losses, but strength of schedule, how good your components have been or your opponents have been, and you mix and match all those numbers. I think as long as it doesn't get to the players' heads and affects their play, I'm a fan of it.
Yep. I think analytics are great, but I'm not sure I'm going to trust analytics over telling Bob Huggins when to take a timeout. What is that point? I know math is really good and it can do a lot of things for a lot of different areas in life, but sometimes you got to go with that gut instinct, man, and having that feeling. I think probably a great mixture of both would be probably the best way to go about it, because you have the same issue in really all the sports that are messing with the analytics.
Yeah, it's one more tool not to make decisions for you, but to help you make better decisions. So as long as we keep that in mind and we're not, making calls directly based off of data, it's just one more data point to help you make better decisions.
Yeah, speaking of additions, meaning math, Joe Toussaint was a great addition thus far. It shows here from Iowa. And what he's doing, I'm going to go ahead and run this video for you. And if you could just look at him, watch it, because, he's leading the team with assists with 35. He comes off the bench. He scored 14 points against UAB. He's there. I've heard some people say, hey, listen, when he drives to the paint, other four guys stand around. I didn't see a lot of that against UAB. I saw him doing a lot of dishing off against Navy, UAB. Go ahead, Brent, start us out with your thoughts on Joe.
No, I'm a fan. So he's the fourth leading. I know he's coming off the bench, but he's our fourth leading scorer. He obviously comes in. He's athletic. He makes things happen with the basketball. And I think we need a good mix of that. We can't just have people sitting around shooting three-pointers. We need people, able to drive in, create, even if he's not, scoring, he's creating for others. So I think he brings a lot of excitement to the game.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
No, as I said last week, and we talked earlier today, as far as Joe, I really think he has a lot of similar character to Greg Jones that I play with. That he's not afraid to take it down the middle. He's not afraid to go up and with a big or something like that. But definitely, as long as he's looking for other folks, I think he's in like you said, Brent. Coming off the bench, averaging double figures. He's a great asset for the team.
Yeah, Dave, when you sit there and think about it, it's a fine line between should I go and drive in, do the layup, do the jump shot, or should I pass off? I mean, that's what he's there to do. But again, it's not always easy because things are moving so fast, and you got bigs all around you with big arms.
Well, he just like earlier in the first show, the guys still trying to get it together. You know, they all coming from different places, and it's the first 10 games. It takes a little longer. As they, you know, each game you see he's getting better. He's not turning the ball over as much. He's leading the team in assists coming off the bench. That says a lot right there. He's a great defender. You know, he hits his open shots. He gets guys involved. I don't know what, you know, we can always find fault in the player, but for a guy that's coming off the bench and doing all that, I would take him any day.
Yeah, I would say I would take him any day as well. I like his feisty. You know, I'm an old guy that likes the inside the quarterback sneak. You know, to grind it all out. And I see if Joe Toussaint was a football player. I hate to say this because this is basketball, but he's tough as nails. And I love a guy who's fearless to go in the paint, man, and go against the bigs like you guys because you're out there because you like hammering on those little guys. It makes it a lot easier. But anyways, he's not afraid. I like that, and I think the other bigs, as the season goes along, and the other players will get second chance points or first chance being with the easy layups. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we were playing Notre Dame my sophomore year. I was having a hell of a game, but I was in foul trouble. And that daggone David Rivers ran right at me and got me my 5th foul. I mean, he ran straight to me like he knew he was coming after me, and I put my hand straight up, but it was a Notre Dame call. And I fouled out. But them little guards like that, that's what you want. You want him going down there against them big guys and creating havoc.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that. Good story. Brent, let's go to you. And Mountaineers are 8-2. Dee just said that they're coming together. They're still in transition. There's still a lot happening for this team. Still trying to figure out Bob Huggins and his coaching staff ways, and not only each other. Where are you putting this Mountaineer team right now? Where do you think they are in their learning period? And where do you think they have to go?
They have gelled sooner than I expected them to this year. Now, Emmett Matthews, he sorry about that, Cowboys. But no, Emmett Matthews, he has the most time with the Mountaineers, but he's in a position now where he didn't play last year. He didn't play with a lot of these guys. And so he's got to work out and gelling with his teammates as well. But for being 10 games in, 8-2, you know, having 2 tough losses to good teams, I'm really happy with where we're at in the season so far.
Yeah, let me go back to you, D, and say last year Mountaineers were 16-17, I believe, and they weren't exciting on offense as they are this year. You know, what is the difference in the chemistry of this group, being that they're new for the most part, as opposed to the chemistry last year?
It seems like they like each other. You know what I mean? Like last year, I came to a couple games, come to a couple practices, and every time someone could take out the game, they were whining and throwing their hands up and, showing up the coach. This year, guys coming out, they come out, don't say nothing. Coach talks to them. They sit down when it's their time again. They're ready to play. And it's just about the chemistry now, instead of about being self. You know, I think the NIL deal hit last year. I think everybody got selfish instead of being team guys. And I think it hurt the players here because it just messed up the chemistry.
You know, Tim, let me ask you this. You were a no-nonsense player and guy, and you still are for that part. But how focused does this team seem to be as a group? Now, you go back to Xavier for 3/4 of the game, man. They were on fire and then seem to lose focus. And so far, you haven't seen that since.
No, I think, like I said, and Darryl and Brent have already said it, but this team, I think, they're gelling quicker than I thought. The fact that, you look at the stats, I mean, it's across the board. You got 4 guys in double figures averages, and if you got guys coming off the bench and doing what they have to do. It's a good group of guys, for the fact that Huggins and his staff put together, through all these new guys coming in, and the fact that they're getting along that well, it says a lot for the coaching staff.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And speaking of which, we've got to talk about Trey Mitchell. He got Big 12 Player of the Week. Obviously, he had 16 points average, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists for West Virginia in the games versus Navy and UAB. What, Tim, is Trey Mitchell's advantage, and what's his potential to finish out? He's a senior, so he can only go so far now, but where do you think?
No, I think from the size standpoint of Trey Mitchell and his abilities, capabilities. The fact that he can be outside, he can go inside, he's quick. He's a good defensive player as well. I think he's a very rounded player that can bring many facets to almost any position there on the court.
D.
I agree with Tim. He's a very versatile, and he's efficient. He doesn't have to have a lot of touches and a lot of shots. He don't take bad shots. If he's open, he'll knock down a three. If he's not quite open, he'll back you down, and he can shoot over the left shoulder. He can shoot over the right shoulder. There's little jump hooks. He's a problem when he gets going, and especially on the inside, and he has some space. It's a problem with him and Matthews.
Hey, Brent, let me ask you this. With Trey Mitchell, I've seen him take the ball from the three-point line. Obviously, we know he can shoot it. But I've seen him actually put the ball in the court and dribble it and then go into the paint and attack. How difficult is that? Number one, that he can get around the guard, but then you got to move as a big.
Well, so it obviously complicates how you're going to match up against him defensively. You can't just sag off of him. I mean, he's over an 82% free throw shooter, so the guy can shoot. So you have to play up on him. You have to respect his outside shot, and that opens up the opportunity to attack the hoop. And he's averaging over 55% from the field. So like Darryl said, he's definitely efficient with the ball, not taking stupid shots, and that's the kind of guy you want on your team.
Mm-hmm. And so, Tim, let's go with this. Let's move it now. What is your positive outtake from University of Alabama and Birmingham? What was your positive outtake for that?
I just think the way the transition and the fact that we had the scoring was just kind of overall, and the people coming off the bench. It was good to see the transitions and think that they were doing.
Yeah, D.
I thought that was a really good game. That was a trap game. We got finals and all that stuff, and you had a real good team coming in. You had a dynamic scorer. You have a potential pro that plays at the other position. We talked about if you're gonna let that guy get 30, you gotta shut everybody else down. I don't think but one person got their average, because that was a tough game. I mean, it might not look like it. I was like, but those watching it on film, they had size. The big guy could score. They had the little guard that was dynamic. Then they had Gaines, the 6'5" guard that was really good. So I thought that was a really interesting game that will help them in the Big 12.
Yeah, and I think Kearney Johnson did a good defensive job on Walker. Overall, hold him down.
Yeah. When you look at that now, Kearney Johnson's mom was there in the stands. That's the first time she's gone to WVU, I believe, and watched him. So I think we should keep her here.
Yeah, we got to find her away.
He scored NIL. Where's Country Roads Trust? Right, that's our people sponsor. We'll get Country Roads Trust in there.
Back in the day, the referees used to come up to me and said, "Where's your dad sitting?" Because he always heckled all the referees, and they all do them.
I needed your dad when I was coaching in high school.
Hey, Brett, let's talk about physicality, because they asked Hugs about it, because Xavier was tough, Davey not so much physical, but obviously UAB was physical and they were athletic, and the Mountaineers really responded physically with them. What's your take on their physical? Because I remember watching you play, man. You were physical as well, and you'd get in their face, and I'm seeing this as a team unit. I'm seeing a mental toughness by all.
Yeah, so that's a prototypical Hugs team. Is a physically tough team that pressures constantly in the other opponent's faces. Like Keaton Johnson, love him as a point guard. I would hate to bring the ball up against him. He plays 94 feet. I'm not going to say he reminds you of Javon Carter, but he's that in-your-face type player like him, and he's fun to watch, and he makes it difficult for them to come down and set up their offense when he's pressuring so hard like that. So I love their physical play, and that has, Huggins implemented that from his very first season here. I remember watching Beeline's teams, and they were, 3-point shooters, spread it out, don't get rebounds, and then Huggins' team comes in. They still got those same shooters, but now all of a sudden they're playing so much harder. And that's just what Hugs does. I asked him once, how do you get him to play it? He told me they don't have any choice. If they don't play hard, they come out of the game. So, no, I'm a fan of his style of play. It's fun to watch.
No, I certainly am too. And Tim, I'm thinking Mountaineers, they got out rebounded by 32-30, and they seem to be tough at the boards, but some games are more aggressive on the boards, some times are less. Is this a problem moving forward, or are they just getting better? What's happening with the rebounds?
I think we discussed this last week. I think some of the rebounding is coming from the fact they're hitting higher percentage shots. So, I mean, if you look at their overall percentage compared to last year, the ball's going through. So, I mean, there's not a lot of, chances to get more rebounds. But, yeah, I think they could be a little bit more aggressive on the boards, especially on the defensive side, because you got two guys fighting over the ball. And, but overall, I think you just got to look at a lot more shots are falling this year than they did last year.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I did forget about that, but I won't mention Truck's name again. Okay, I won't do that. All right, Truck.
Oh.
Yes. Anyways, so let's talk about Dave. Let's talk about Jimmy Bell, what he's doing. He's a senior. He's lost a ton of weight. He seems to be getting in there. He's getting the start again today, apparently. And he's also got the other bigs as well. And they use most of those fouls against UAB, playing it and playing tough. What's your take on the bigs here at WVU?
So Jimmy Bell, you're talking 6'10", and was that 285 pounds? I mean, that's a big man.
And he's lost 70 pounds
he's what's that?
And he's lost 70 pounds on top.
Yeah. So I mean, that is an awfully big man. Takes up a lot of space in the middle. He's going to make it difficult for people to attack the basket, taking up that much space. And he's our leading rebounder by far. I think he has about 5.7 per game, and he's just a space eater that he's not a superstar, but he's playing his role well, and I'm really happy to see that from him this year.
I agree. He's making his inside shots. He's hitting his free throws. I think he's a great asset to the inside game for WVU.
Yeah, yep. I think he's a presence on both ends of the floor. Sometimes we have centers that's not a presence even on the defensive end. With that middle pick and roll, he shows. Don't let the guy go across the court. He does a good job of cutting them off and not letting the guy turn the corner. He's scoring down. He's bumping guys, hitting guys. When you throw it down there, he scores once or twice. Now the team has a double team. He does a decent job of getting the ball back out. He's just. I think he's going to be the big key as time goes on.
I agree. He's a big guy.
Let me ask you this: big guys, physical guys. But when I was watching the game against UAB, man, that Jelly Walker, he was good in the transition game. I saw the Mountaineers running with UAB, who was known very athletic. Dave, what's your take on the transition? Because they're going to need it against UB. They're big in the transition game, and so they're going to have to run with the team again.
Yeah, it's about taking good shots. If you take good shots, you don't have bad balance going back on defense. So sometimes when guys, especially last year, taking bad shots, and if you don't know what the other guys are going to do, you're taking bad shots. So now this year they're shooting closer to the basket, so the percentages are up, and it's easy to get back on defense. Because that, it's we like to transition out too, on steals and on missed shots. So what you do is slow that down is by throwing it inside. You got Mitchell scoring inside. You got Bell scoring inside. You also have Emmett scoring inside. So that's a lot of points in the paint. And then you also have the guards getting in the lane. So you're taking better shots. You're not taking long threes, long rebounds, and everybody's just flying out.
Yeah, we talk about the paint, Brett. Last year, I don't think we could get anybody to run in the paint. Go ahead and take a shot, or I don't know, but it's just my take on it. What's your take on it this year about them? Because I love watching them. They're fun in the paint.
Yeah, so that we're playing more physical this year. We're taking better shots this year. We're playing better team basketball this year. That's the biggest thing for me is the body language. Darryl mentioned it. When they coming off the court, you see the people on the bench cheering for them. It's it's a difference between playing selfish ball and playing team ball. And if you got guys that can contribute, which we do this year, it's easier to trust that when you drive the lane and give them the ball that they're going to do something productive with it. If you don't have that trust in your teammates, you're less likely to pass. You're more likely to force shots. And this year, we're seeing them, like we mentioned, gelling early, sharing the basketball. even the guys off the bench, leading the team in assists. They're just playing extremely good team basketball right now, sharing the basketball, and very early on, I feel like they trust each other, which is huge in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let me take this moment here just to thank our sponsors, and that's Parmar Stores. There's not a Parmar store near you now. There will be one soon. Dan Cava, Toyota Auto World. You got to love it. Shop the World. And then, of course, you got Wilson Martino Dental. Yeah, they do that because, you know what? All their dentists, man, all their dentists, except for one, are graduates of WVU, so they support Mountaineer Nation. And, of course, Country Roads Trust, name, image, and likeness. I'll tell you, I got it down, man. We need some more. That's what we need. We need some more sponsors. And with that being said, Tim, I got one last question for you, Tim. And now I forgot what it was, but I do have it.
Okay. I'll answer it anyway if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had the question, but Wilson Martino totally got me off. Oh, yes. Here we go. Technical term. Let's call it a 4-out motion. Okay, we talked motion before. This is for people like me that don't know what motion is. This is basketball 101. What is your definition, motion and 4-out motion?
I know we talked about this earlier. I think Darryl had more to say on it, but my thought on the motion is knowing the defense you're playing against and where the gaps are and movement and spreading of the court. And because if you spread the court, you're going to spread the defense. If you're shooting the gaps against a zone, you're getting a 2-on-1. Somebody else is going to be open. So I think the motion side of it is just not get bogged up on one side of the court. It's just keeping the spread and keeping the movement. You got guys that sometimes they'll just stand there and they're not moving. And, you got one guy working his ass off, and all of a sudden, no one's getting open. So I think it's just constant motion and movement. I don't know how you feel about it, Darryl, but I thought, we had discussed that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you're correct. It's like everybody has their different ways of it. In today's game, you'll notice their bigs is always setting screens. They'll run from the post to run to the top of the key to set a screen. The guard is trying to get an advantage. If he gets an advantage, turn the corner, someone helps, he throws it out to a shooter. Or if the roll guy or the guy who took the big roll to the basket, they'll try to throw it to him, and someone helps him on the other side. It's a European style. If you go watch European basketball, all they do is high pick and roll from the middle because it's very difficult for them guys, like you said, to spread out. They got shooters.
I've got a question on the screening, Darryl, and I don't know if you've seen it in the past or the changes since when we played, but a lot of these guys don't know how to set a proper screen. We're getting called for fouls and everything else because you're not having the players working together and you're having illegal picks and whatnot. So people go up to do a screen, they just kind of throw their body in.
Yeah.
Some
of it, when I coach, if you didn't get there in time to set a screen or the guy went too early, the guard that has the ball who goes too early sometimes put the big guys in a bad position. Yep. And sometimes when the big guys know they're late, they'll try to overcompensate because they don't want to get screened at by the coach. You ain't come set the screen right. So you got a lot of different factors with that. Yep. And you're right. They don't know how to set screens because, as much as people are telling them what to do to set a screen, they don't know how to get that other person's body in between their body. They don't know how to just stand there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get like you set a screen. Yeah, it's just a whole different, I don't know if the teaching at the lower levels are adequate enough that they're teaching it the right way.
Yeah.
Brent, you got anything to add to that?
No, just to piggyback on what these guys said. So if you're talking a 4-out motion offense, if you have 4 shooters, the 4 people that are out, that's really going to spread the court more. So that makes your one guy, your center, or whoever's setting the screen up top, the defense has to execute against that perfectly. Because if not, anyone that's going to sag off to help on that drive, you're going to kick the ball to those guys that's open shots all day. So if we can knock down, if we're running a motion offense, those 4 outside guys can all shoot. That makes it incredibly tough on the defense.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And so let's then move on to the Bulls, man, because you're going to see that tonight. I heard from Hugs that you're going to see that tonight. So I was really interested in knowing and letting us people that don't understand, and you guys did a great job with that. So moving to the UB, let's take a look at them. And Darryl, I'm going to start out with you and say, What's your take on them when you look at them? I know you've watched film and you've broken them down.
Yeah, they get out in transition. They got a couple of guys that can score. Curtis Jones, he's averaging about 15 a game. He can get going. He can hit the spot up three. He can drive it. Yeah, but there's that pick and roll. I mean, they do it all day. Pick and roll, dribble handoffs. They try to get angles to drive to the basket. And I think at the beginning of the season with West Virginia, that was one of our weaknesses, is giving guys angles, getting straight line drives. If we can cut out the straight line drives and square them up, I think we'd be good.
Well, you, Brett.
My two keys to this game are getting back on defense, like Darryl said, then rebounding. So we have two guys that are averaging over 4 rebounds per game. They have 4 of their 5 starters are averaging over 4 rebounds a game. So they attack the glass. We have to keep them off it. We have to control the glass. If we do that and get back on defense, on paper, this should be not a competitive game, but we'll see. Now, with that being said, Emmett Smith's freshman year, Emmett Matthews' freshman year, we lost to Buffalo in the very first game of the season in overtime at the Coliseum. So I hope he remembers that, and I hope he, reminds all of his teammates about that, and they take this game seriously, because you cannot overlook anyone in college basketball.
No.
Tim, is that a trap game, Tim? Is that what this is? Is this a trap game?
A trap game? I don't think it's a trap game. I think, overall, as Brent was saying, as well as Darryl, I think matching up with them, I think we, on the inside, we have the advantage. We just got to take we have to, take advantage of that with our bigs that we have and their size, because they're kind of limited on their size, even though they've got some big guards, but it stops their guards. And I think their tallest guy is maybe 6'9" and 200 pounds. I mean, you get, what do you call him, Brent? Emmett Smith?
Yeah. Emmett Matthews, he's gone 1 year and I already forgot his last name here.
No, but Jimmy Bell up against a 200-pound, 6'9" guy, my money's on Jimmy Bell. So he ought to be able to do a lot of things inside to help suck that defense in and start kicking it out and hitting some threes. So I think we have a good matchup. We just got to play well in the paint, and I think it should, we should be fine.
Okay, so Brent, they're 85% man-to-man defense. They're going to do some 2-3 zone, but around 85%, they're majorly man. How do you attack that?
I would do exactly what we talked about earlier. I'd do the high pick and roll, force some mismatches, attack the basket. If they sag in and help off, I kick it out for outside shots. But I would just keep the pressure on them offensively, defensively. Sometimes offense starts with defense. If you put a full court press on them and you pressure them, that you end up with turnovers and easy baskets in transition. So I would definitely pressure them defensively. I would attack, and I would use those high screens.
What about you, D?
I work that high low, just like he's talking about. I work that high low. Cut. I would cut Emmett Matthews. I would cut Trey Mitchell to the post. Let them score in the post as well, and just see if Stevenson can get going this game. He's been kind of quiet lately. Let's see if he can get going and open the floor for the guys.
Okay, David. Let me ask you this. Let me just say this: man to man. Okay, we understand your high low. I understand what you're doing cutting. How do you beat man to man? You know what I mean? What do you have to do? Is it just effort? What is it?
Well, you just got to be, sometimes it's hard to stop a guy one-on-one. It's hard to stop a guy one-on-one. So and those guys, when they get down in the paint, one-on-one, they can't guard them. So they're going to have to, double team, and hopefully guys miss shots. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think we might see more zone than usually play because of the lack of girth. So I'm sure Buffalo has a good coach. I'm sure he's been working on zone this week, and hopefully that won't deter West Virginia. But if I was a coach in Buffalo, I would play more zone, because I know my guys couldn't guard all 3 of them guys back there.
No.
Tim, question for you. You just said yourselves they're not overly large. They have 3 guards and 2 forwards. How do you test them out starting out offensively? Do you attack the paint? What do you do?
I would pound it down low. It just just to get the feel for where everything's going. But I would start by pounding down low, get it in the bell, get it into have Trey Mitchell posting up as well. I would pound it down low and let the defense start sucking in so that they start kicking out the ball to some of these guys could hit 3-pointers.
Just like the two games we lost, was 2 games we lost against 2 7-footers that can play down there. You know what I mean? The big guy at Purdue is like, he's huge and he's scoring down there. And the other guy, like Xavier, and the power forward from Xavier is really good. I watched them against Georgetown the other day. I was like, wow, these guys were really good. It wasn't just our game; they were really good. Yeah. So so we have to do the same thing to Buffalo with Mitchell and Bell. Just pound them down low, and make them go to their bench and see how they fare.
Okay, so Brett, when you look at it offensively, defensively, as for the whole game, is what do the Mountaineers have to do today on Bob Huggins, Hall of Fame day to make it a happy day, but also to realize they're playing an opponent that can beat them if they're not playing their top.
Yeah, so the biggest thing in games like this, it's not a preseason game, but it's before the actual conference games start, is effort. It's 100% effort. They got to come out and play like they want to win, not necessarily to avoid losing. So, like I said, hustle back on defense, block out, dive for the basketball. It's going to be all about effort, and we'll find that out in the first 5 minutes of the game today, what kind of effort we're going to get.
What do you think, Tim?
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with what Brent just said. It's all about the effort. They can't. I know they got finals going on and Christmas is coming up. They got to put that all out of their mind, go out there and give 100%.
Yeah, how do you think Hugs would be, D, if he lost a Hall of Fame day to his day, and it's a joyous celebration, and if his guys came out and it was kind of lackadaisical and not as focused to what he wanted?
They will purchase 15 more treadmills, and everybody will be running, even the managers and the coaches.
There would probably be a practice at 9:00 tonight.
Exactly. We had one of those before. Y'all know Catlett. We had one of those before.
Same here with Catlett. I had the same thing too, straight off the bus in the locker room at 9-10 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Tim, I'm going to ask you this last question. What's your pick to click or clicks? Who are they?
I'm sorry?
Your picks to click tonight in the game.
I think we've already discussed is the guy's giving 100% and pounding the ball inside.
No, what I'm saying is what players?
Oh, players. I think Stevenson's he's gonna do something tonight. And of course, Joe, coming off the bench, and if Emmett and Trey get into their groove, there's no stopping them.
Brett, what do you think?
Trey Mitchell, I think he's going to be a big mismatch for Buffalo, and I also like Keedrian Johnson. He's going to pressure hard. I think we're going to get a lot of steals. We're going to get a lot of transition buckets, and I think Keedrian is going to be the guy setting that off.
D?
I'm going to go with Stevenson and Bell.
Stevenson and Bell? Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just because I like him, not because I have any idea of how to go ahead and attack Buffalo. But I'm going to go with Toussaint because he's tough as nails, baby. and I like his attitude, and I like his form. And with that being said, we have one last thing. And, we have D who's going to give me a Coach Ford story. If you guys got anything to add to it, let me know, and then we'll get out of here. Give me Coach Ford, D. Make it quick.
Coach Ford, was the academic advisor for everyone. So one day I come in the office, he has football coaches, football players in there, basketball, I think his son was in there. So he's doing their schedule for the next semester. So I walked in, he goes, "Hold it, stop. The best player ever from Washington, D.C. is here." He stopped doing all theirs and did mine, and everybody was mad at me for a while. I was like, "Why y'all mad at me?" He did it. He stopped everybody else's. So he was, I was to him, because I was from DC. I was the best player that ever came to West Virginia, because he drove me on my recruiting trip to West Virginia and back.
Yeah, I don't think there's any statutory issues now for about illegal recruiting driving you to the Coliseum. But we all know that Coach Ford thought he was the best player of football out of the DC area.
Hey, so I gotta share a quick Coach Ford story. So I love Coach Ford and his wife. Great family. So I was an engineer in school, took 5 years to graduate. I had one awful semester. I mean, awful academically. And you know what? No one said anything to me. No coaches. No one said anything to me. I see Coach Ford standing at the, off of the court after practice one day, and he just walks over to me and he asked me if everything was all right. I said, yeah, I just had a bad semester. I'll be back on it next year. But it meant a lot to me that, he came down to practice, walked out on the court, asked me if everything was all right, and because he knew that was not typical of me. So, Coach Ford cared for the players, and I still love him to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he asked me, was I going? When I struggled, he asked me, was I going hardship? I missed like 2 weeks of class.
We're not even going to get into why. What about you, Tim?
Okay.
Any stories?
He didn't ask me if I was okay. He just like, you going hardship? I was like, no. He's like, well, you missed 2 weeks of class. I was like, all right, my fault. I'll get back to it.
I think his biggest concern with me was, when are you going to pick a major?
Well, and I'll leave it at this. The one thing he said to me, Wolf, what do you want to major? And I said, staying eligible. All right. So we'll go with that. And guys, thank you so much. Mountaineer Hardcourt Legends with Tim Kearney, Brent Solheim, and Darryl Prue. And guys, want you to come on back, man. We thank Dan Cava. We want to thank Wilson Martino. We want to thank Country Roads Trust. And of course, our title sponsor, Par-Mar Stores. Gentlemen, we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Okay. Go Mountaineers.
Let's go.
No matter what it is you need, you'll find it at your local Par-Mar store. From gas to groceries, snacks, and everything else you always seem to run out of, Par-Mar Stores has it. Need more savings? Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. You won't only see our stores in your neighborhoods, you'll see us in your neighborhoods too. We are proud to be in your town and proud to be a part of the community. Come see us at Par-Mar Stores, and remember, if there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.